V looked out over the former capital of his people's empire, an empire that once spanned more than 100 star systems across countless worlds. So many people came under their control, and so many people learned of their greatness. But now it was no longer just a shattered ruin, a pile of rubble ravaged by a race that had not even remotely reached the scale of the Empire's enlightenment. The world was so small and insignificant that they didn't even need an army. Conquer. Initially, as far as they had come since the first conquest, it did not take long for them to be integrated into the structure of the Empire. Some with their hardy nature as slaves who work in many resource worlds, and some as part of death they are able to survive in different climates, and some work as diplomats. Their unique vocal cords and mouths allowed them to speak many languages as fluently as native speakers. This was long thought to be impossible without cybernetic enhancement. It still seemed like a sick joke that humans remembered anything when the first news of the human rebellion crossed his desk. He laughed. In fact, he was laughing at these little things that went against them. Oh, how stupid the elites were, they still thought. If only they had studied a little bit of the history of racing. If you had any idea how bloody human history is, you would know that wars between many races under imperial rule were fought quickly during a single harvest season. But they never rested. They were truly a race submerged in a sea of their own blood. The scariest part is that they knew they were good at it. Lord Vrell blinked, looking down at his poor crew of assistants, who had obviously been trying to get his attention for a while. Vrell bowed his head slightly while staring at the words of apology. Can't be helped since he was deep in thought, but I feel like this could have been avoided. He explained, pointing to the ruins. Perhaps, sir, said the assistant with a slightly cheerful smile, but he decided not to reprimand him for his rudeness. Clusters have long been part of the way empires operate. It was easy to forget. Not everyone was subordinate to his V people, but there was a time when people fought in a rather unique way. Vrell could only nod. In fact, it was true. Humanity initially lacked the strength to resist them, so they allowed themselves to be overturned and integrated, not out of loyalty or fear, as humanity said, but through cunning. Although many primitive races had been defeated, humanity had already used conquest as a means to become stronger and was endowed with technological talent through deliberate integration. They were able to cross the borders of the empire more freely. They were given weapons to fight pirate raiders. If talented people had been able to recognize that predators sharpen their fangs and claws and wait to strike, they would have ended up like brigands. First, I actually commented on a lot of hit-and-run tactics and well-coordinated tactics, and I corrected that people are learning and researching technology. The people of V relied on their zeal for service or their desire to help the empire by reducing upkeep costs. Little did they know they were looking for a weak spot. It started with the French army. A quick raid here, a quick attack there. Nothing much but rogues, but humanity took advantage of their abilities. Well, while I was working as a diplomat and translator, things started poisoning the system from within. A mistranslation of a word here or there could mean the difference between the world joining the fight or not. But the war truly began when all of humanity stood together with countless allies. They were against the Empire. What was initially thought to be a simple group of rogues evolved into a massive civil war that bled humanity for centuries. My kids were having nightmares about people arriving.
Commented.
They were afraid of big people trying to devour them. Surely, we would never do that. As he approached them, he heard a new voice say, "Oh, Captain Luke." "Yes, Lord Vrell." The human smiled and nodded. "How is reconstruction progressing?" Looking back at various parts of the capital, Vrell asked if the people were progressing smoothly with the rebuilding on time. "Some other races may complain, but we've made it clear. This is how we do it. Destroy and build." As Cuz asked, if we reduce the suffering of war, today's enemies may become tomorrow's allies. Personally, I think it's pretty simple. Why did I ask you if you had a chance to read about our history and culture? Have you ever come across the fable of the frog and the scorpion? We know it as a creature, but not in a simple story with a tale. A frog was hopping along the bank of a large river when he encountered a scorpion. The scorpion asks the frog to carry him to the other side. The frog asks correctly, "If I get stung, we'll both drown," said the scorpion, nodding. "Yes, that's a stupid worry." Luke nodded, and the frog put the scorpion on his back and began swimming, But halfway through he felt a sharp pain in his back, and then another. A scorpion had stung him. Why did he ask exactly what the frog asked? That's the core of why we destroy and rebuild. Why we are good at violence and peace is because, as the scorpion said to the frog, it is in my nature, simply put, because we cannot help ourselves as we are. We may have hope for a new era. Humans run things and do everything I understand. My children also played with the human children, she said a little gloomily as she looked back at the destroyed half of the city.